Yes, our next question will come from Dr. Theodore Halatsis. If you could please unmute and turn on your camera.
Hello, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, sir, President.
Yes.
Please go ahead, sir.
I am here today as President of the Canadian Hellenic Congress, representing our members, and I would like to thank Minister Champagne and his office and all the MPs for taking the time to meet with us today to discuss matters of concern to Canadians of Hellenic origin. We hope that today's discussion will help to strengthen the ties between our government and our community, enhancing our mutual cooperation. Within the mandate of the Canadian Hellenic Congress to represent, advance, advocate, and promote the interests and concerns of Canadians of Hellenic descent and Hellenism in general, the CHC has communicated with Prime Minister Trudeau and our government over the past several months on issues of current concern to Hellenes across Canada. Specifically, we have communicated with the Prime Minister and his office with regard to Turkey's illegal and provocative actions in the Eastern Mediterranean region in violation of sovereign territories of Greece and Cyprus. Turkey's aggressive actions in the region over the past few months have raised tensions to dangerously high levels, and this is of great concern to all of us. We have also communicated with the Prime Minister and with you, Minister, on the issue of Hagia Sophia and Turkey's defiant decision in contravention of international law to convert the great church into a mosque. We believe that Turkish President Erdogan's decision reflects a rhetoric of conquest that heightens the alienation of Constantinople's Christian past and brands Turkey's non-Muslims as reconquered subjects and second-class citizens. You will recall, Minister, that our most recent communication with you on the issue of Hagia Sophia was actually a joint letter with the Armenian National Committee of Canada and the Serbian National Shield Society of Canada, representing Greek, Armenian, and Serbian communities of Canada, respectively. In view of Hagia Sophia's UNESCO's World Heritage Site status, this is clearly a matter of international concern and not just a domestic issue. And given that Canada is a founding member of UNESCO, in our letter, we urged you, as well as our Prime Minister and our Canadian government, to 1, condemn Turkey's illegal actions and defiance of international law. 2, to make a public declaration in support of UNESCO's statement on this matter. 3, and to make every diplomatic and political effort to reverse Turkey's decision and to safeguard all universal heritage sites around the world. Another matter of serious concern to our community is the sale by Canada of military drone optics to Turkey, despite an arms embargo that is in place. Turkey's long history of aggression and human rights violations, as well as violations to its neighbors' sovereignty and a total disregard for international humanitarian law, are well known and reinforce our belief that as Canadians, we must not in any way, shape, or form assist the Turkish government by providing military weapons or technology to be used in an offensive manner. As such, the CHC wrote to Prime Minister Trudeau in June of this year, urging him and our government to recognize Turkey's state of policy of aggression and expansionism in the Middle East and the Mediterranean Sea, to respect the embargo and to cancel the sale of Canadian drone optics to Turkey. Another issue that the CHC has been advocating for the past several years is the recognition of the Pontian Greek genocide by the government of Canada. And we hope that this soon will become a reality. It is way overdue. In closing, Canada has a long-standing record as a staunch supporter of the rule of law and of humanitarian rights and religious freedoms, and must uphold the international law by publicly condemning Turkish government's illegal actions. We see it as a choice between joining those nations who have already condemned and work to end significant and sustained human rights and international law violations and illegal actions, or stay deafeningly silent in the face of these violations and actions. Because we believe our choices define us as people and as nations, it is our hope that Canada will choose to be a nation that works alongside those other nations to uphold human rights and international law. Thank you very much for hearing.
Mr. President, I am delighted. First of all, I think it's the first time we meet. I wish it could be in person, but I just want to let you know that my door is always open to you. I have great respect for your views, and certainly I took notes of your comments, which I knew, and I can assure you, you know, when it comes to the issue of human rights, I can assure you, it might be a perception in Canada, but I don't think there's many countries in the world, when I talk to my foreign colleagues, that would think that there's a country who speaks more often on human rights than Canada. I think we've been at the forefront with the EU, certainly more often than perhaps any other country I can think of, to make sure that we uphold you know, the rule of law, whether it was in Hong Kong, whether it was with Xinjiang. In the Eastern Mediterranean, I've been engaged with NATO on numerous occasions. I think if you were to ask NATO, they would probably say Canada has been one of the most engaged in the discussion so far. So there's been a lot of diplomacy, I would say, in the back room, which might not be obvious to everyone who's watching us. But I think that's what allowed us, when we were talking with the SecGen, to come to at least bringing the parties closer together on de-escalation in the Eastern Mediterranean. And I'd be happy to brief you, have my officials brief you more deeply on what we've been doing with that. And certainly I take your comments about the Arms Trade Treaty. As you know, we probably have one of the most robust systems in the world. I don't pretend that it is perfect, but I certainly make sure every time there is any allegation that they're investigated thoroughly. On this one, I can assure you we're talking about a handful of equipment, and all the military intelligence that we have been talking to have confirmed that these weapons have been used in the fight against ISIS and not for any other use. Now, I appreciate there might be different views, but I'm just telling you very upfront what is the evidence that we have been receiving from NATO and other countries which are engaged. But I'm more than happy to engage with you on that. I appreciate your comments with respect to that. And I can, you know, these export permits, Mr. President, I wish I can tell you that it's probably the side of my job which is the most difficult, to be honest, because it's always through great due diligence. And as a lawyer, I do tend to ask a lot of questions before any of these permits are ever issued, and they will be revoked at any given time if I see evidence that they would be used against the law. And certainly we are always, I've created an expert panel, for example, on exports, and we're probably the only country in the world to have that. So I'm always willing to look at ways where we can improve, we can do better. I don't pretend we're perfect. And certainly your views and the views of the community are of great importance to me and my colleagues. So please never hesitate to come back to me, and I can assure you that your words, your concern are listened to. And then we have the difficult job of making decisions, but I can assure you that your voice and your concerns are heard thoroughly in how we frame some of the responses to the issues that we have to be deciding.
Mr. Champagne, I want to thank you very much for your attention and your time. And basically to reiterate what the Honorable Lenny Bacopano had said, it is because we know what Canada stands for, and we know what you've done in the past for other circumstances around the globe, it just surprises us that we haven't heard it verbalized with regards to this current issue. Thank you.
I see. No, and I appreciate that, Mr. President. And I think what we should do, and I look at the person in the mirror when I say that, we should do better to keep you informed of every step. And you know, sometimes I have discussions that I don't render public because they might not necessarily be of public concern. But we will certainly do a better job. And when I say that, I look at myself to try to inform you more thoroughly about the steps we're taking on these issues, so that you are, I don't necessarily want to pretend you will agree, but at least I want to make sure that we give you as much information about what we're doing.
Thank you once again to you and to everybody with you and all your colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
This week, Canada suspended military export permits to Turkey. That's after allegations that equipment from Canadian companies is being used in an escalating conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan over the disputed territory of Nagorno-Karabakh.
Under the law, I'm allowed to suspend permit pending investigations where we will gather further evidence to make sure that all exports comply with the spirit and the letter of the law. Like I said, we have one of the most robust regime when it comes to export, and that's what Canadians, I think, expect from us.
Ευχαριστώ θερμά το Ελληνοκαναδικό Κογκρέσο για την πολυεπίπεδη και πολυσχηδή συνεισφορά του στα εθνικά μας θέματα. Χρόνια πολλά.
For more on this now, I'm joined by Karim Uras, Turkey's ambassador to Canada. He's with us from Ottawa. Hi, Ambassador. Good to have you back on the program.
Likewise, thank you.
Your government, sir, has accused the Canadian government of practicing a, quote, double standard in freezing exports of military-grade target acquisition gear to Turkey while continuing to allow shipments of defense equipment to Saudi Arabia. Can you guarantee, though, right now, without a doubt, that no Canadian military technology is being used in the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan in that disputed region?
Unfortunately, I can't confirm nor can I deny because there are conflicting reports on that. We follow that, of course, we have ongoing cooperation and strong cooperation with Azerbaijan, but specifically, are our drones there, or have they bought drones, or do these drones carry Canadian equipment? I can't say.
Why is that?
Simply because I don't know.
But why don't you know? Why doesn't your government know? If your government, in fact, purchased that, how do you not know whether it's being used?
Well, this developed in a very hasty fashion, as you know, and we think it's surprising, it's unjustified, it's hasty, it's not in line with an allied spirit, and it amounts to rewarding the aggressor. So I was busy on Sunday talking to our people back in Ankara as to what is the extent of our cooperation. And I got conflicting reports, like the Undersecretariat of Defense Equipment said that, yes, they have bought them, but they haven't arrived yet. They're on their way. Others said, well, we don't know. And so there is a bit of controversy there. So I don't want to go into it, not in order to mislead you or your viewers.
So until that information can be confirmed, or until you're able to ascertain what the truth is, do you understand how Canada would want to suspend things just to make sure they can also verify whether or not that's happening? Why are you, accusing the Canadian government of having a double standard when, in fact, you can't tell them for sure that that equipment isn't being used?
Well, because there's nothing to substantiate any negative claim, and I would make the case that actually drones, by pinpoint targeting the aggressor, are actually upholding human rights, not, I would say, eroding them. So actually, it is a support in that sense. But in any case, without a proper report, it's very hasty and it disrupts our own system. And it's rewarding the aggressor because, Azerbaijan is trying to save its own land from Armenian aggression, which has been going on for 30 years. And they have occupied 21% of Azeri territory. The Armenians have led, because of their human rights violations, to the fleeing of 1 million Azeris. They are IDPs in their own land and in very squalid conditions. So disregarding all this and rewarding the aggressor as we see it is not a very appropriate or good policy. It's not in line with NATO allies.
I think with respect, though, sir, and I do say this with a lot of respect, that's the way that you're characterizing it. You just said, as we see it. Certainly, many of your NATO allies at this point don't see it exactly the way you do. They have not labeled, for example, let me finish, sir. They have not labeled
because there
Armenia the aggressor.
UN Security Council resolutions 822, 853 of 1993, 874, 884. And there is the UN General Assembly Resolution 62/243, which says, and I'm reading, quoting, immediate, complete, and unconditional withdrawal of all Armenian forces from Azerbaijan. So this is the position of the international system.
Sir,
and the UN system.
That's not a fair characterization of the entire system as it stands right now. I understand that you're going over historical interpretations of it. At this point in time,
it's still valid.
At this point in time, that's not what everybody is saying. French President Emmanuel Macron, for example, an ally that you point to, accused your country last Thursday of sending Syrian jihadists to fight in that conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan.
That is not correct. I can tell that for a fact. And actually, the contrary is true. There are mercenaries there, that's true, but they are Yazidi Kurds, and they are in, the Armenians call them the Sasna Serer unit. There's also something called Voma, which is a mountain artillery battalion, and there are PKK forces there, which are fighting with the Armenians, for the Armenian forces. These are the mercenaries.
And Ambassador, I understand that I understand that is what your government, that is what you believe. But you're also trying to say that all your allies stand with you, and that's not the case.
I'm telling you, giving you hard information. If you want, I can share this with you. This is a report on the Armenian mercenaries.
I'm happy to read it, and I understand that. I'm not an expert on the conflict that's happening there, but I have read very carefully. Excuse me?
Yes, I understand.
I have read very carefully the reaction. I don't understand why you need to make that personal. I have read very carefully the reaction from many other of the allies that you claim are aligned with the facts that you choose to present, and that simply isn't the case, as I just pointed out to you from the French president.
Well, the French president, we appreciate his efforts to find a solution within the OSCE group and the Minsk group, one of the three countries, but they've been negotiating for 30 years, and the only service they have delivered has been consolidating the occupation. So we are not in favor of using force to solve issues. Of course not. We are diplomats. We would love a peaceful resolution, but it's not there, and every avenue has been tried, and it's not working.
So as a result, you're not in favor of a ceasefire, right?
The Azeri patience has run out, and it was an Armenian attack the first day, and it backfired terribly for them. So I can understand the Azeris when they say we want to liberate our own territory, which is 21% under occupation, as I said.
But if a peaceful solution is possible, why not be supportive of that? And if you can't be supportive of that, why can't you understand that Canada would be hesitant to export military weapons to your country?
Because we're not even sure that they're there. Secondly, we are in support of peace, and our minister was there yesterday trying to resolve the issue and talk to the Azeris, but there is the national sentiment there. We are supportive of them, but we are not a party, of course. Turkey is not a party. We are a NATO member.
Yeah, the president, though, has said, condemned calls for a ceasefire, arguing that until Armenia ends its occupation, a ceasefire will just lead to future conflict. So what kind of peace are you supportive of?
Well, something the two sides can agree upon, and but as long as the occupation is ongoing, it's not very promising, is it? I mean, you can't go in and occupy a country or a country's 21% and then continue negotiating for 30 years and then say, we are for peace. It doesn't work like that. And there are 1 million IDPs in Azerbaijan, which, as I say, live in squalid conditions. By the way, we, Turkey, suffer a lot. We have 4 million, your viewers might not know, but Turkey has 4 million Syrian refugees for 10 years. That's like the whole number of all GTA or all Montenegro Montreal, to put this in perspective, in a Canadian perspective. So we find it offensive when we are accused of violating human rights. If anything, we are upholding human rights in the region, and we are taking care of all these refugees. We've spent $50 billion on them.
Yeah, that's clearly your view, and as you tried to claim, that's not your. You tried to say that your allies that they share that view. They clearly don't at this time. But thank you very much for your time, Ambassador.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.